We're going to go on. I have a group of people here tonight that you'll get to meet. It's really exciting to have them here with you. And so we have our kindergarten team and our pre-K team. I'm going to start with Christine Worth, who is our pre-K teacher. There's Kristen Tedesco, kindergarten teacher. Christina Tesnati, kindergarten teacher. Susie Berzinis, kindergarten teacher. And Claudia Mejia, Maestra Claudia, for Spanish Immersion K. Okay. Christine, if you're ready, I'm going to tee you up for an overview of our Lyseth pre-K program.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name's Christine Worth, and I am the pre-K teacher at Lyseth. And this past year was our first year of having pre-K at Lyseth. After the building was remodeled, we had a wonderful space for the pre-K. So it's been a great year. And I just wanted to show you a couple pictures of the children in action. So you'll see some pictures. This photo is a picture of our piñata party. You could see we made our own piñata. And that was from the fall.
So, Christine, it gives an overview of what the day looks like. The slide that I'm showing the day.
Absolutely. I just want to not go too fast if Berthley and Nana are just interpreting in real time. So,
great.
So we just have an overview of the day. We have arrival around 8:45. We start our day at 9. We have breakfast, lunch. Within that time, we have small groups, story time. We're required to have a rest time per the state regulations. And we have choice time and science. So there's a lot going on. I always joke that we couldn't fit more in a day than we do. I want to go on to the next slide. We are part of the Lyseth community. We participate in music, art, physical education, library, and anything else that's special happening at Lyseth, we are a part of it. So by the time the children are ready to go to kindergarten, they feel so comfortable in the school. They feel very independent to do things on their own, and there's just a comfort level that's really amazing to see. And again, I just have some photos of the children in real time. This past week, we took a field trip to Paths. You may know that the pre-K at Portland Arts and Technology High School is also a part of Lyseth. So we like to do things together with that classroom. And we went over and got to play with the children on the playground and take a nature walk on the grounds at Paths. So that was this past week. And just some beautiful pictures of the children doing their work. And they just are such a tight-knit group this year. On the right, you'll see the children did a lot of taste tests because we're doing a gardening unit right now. So the question was, do you like lettuce? And they got to decide yes or no or not sure. So there's a lot of great photos of the children in action. Lastly, I just want to say that we use a curriculum called PreK for Me. And I'll talk about this in a second. And okay. I could actually put that in the chat in a minute. And so people can just look at the curriculum online. It's an open source curriculum. So any parents who are interested can just take a peek. And finally, today we had a visiting artist who came to help us illustrate books that we're making. And what we did was go visit the kindergarten classrooms and looked around. And then we came back to our classroom and made books about what to expect in kindergarten. So this was all happening today, and the children were so invested and so interested. It was a great day.
I'm muted. That's terrific. Just want to say, Christine, that thank you for mentioning that it's our first year at the pre-K. It was an amazing experience. We were all really not sure what to expect with having a group of 4-year-olds in the building, and it's ended up being an absolute delight. And the growth that they have made in this year has been nothing short of amazing. So thank you, Christine. Okay, moving on to a typical day.
Hi, so I'm Maestra Claudia. I'm the Spanish kindergarten teacher. And I just want to share with you how a typical day in kindergarten looks like. As Christine mentioned, the arrival is at 8:45 and school starts at 9 a.m. So children walk to their classrooms independently, and that's the hope, right? That of course, the first days, maybe it's going to be a wave of emotions, not just as you as parent, but the students may have maybe sometimes like just the separation anxiety. So don't worry, your children will be well take care in the classroom. So the children arrive. When it's time for your child to say goodbye, I think giving them a hug, reassuring them that you will see them at the end of the day. And that's what I personally do in my class, also assuring them, don't worry, you will see your parents at the end of the day. So it's important for your child to arrive on time each day. So this makes for a smoother transition throughout the school, especially if children are having breakfast in school. I think it's important for the children to be on time. And we have Mrs. Tedesco talking to you about dismissal.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Tedesco, one of the kindergarten teachers, and so I'll give you a little bit of information on dismissal. We dismiss around 3:30. The nice part for kindergarten is that we actually will dismiss around 2:25. So we try to 3:25. Not 2:25. It's Wednesday, which is why I said 2:25. So actually it's 3:25. Thank you, Susie. And so we just try to get the little guys out a few minutes ahead so they're not sort of in the big rush of students leaving. So when you're thinking about the dismissal end of the day, it's important to make sure your student knows their dismissal plan. Kids really do remember them. They hold on to those, and you just want to really reinforce, what their plan is for that day, especially if there's students, if your student will go to, let's say, PreK or another after-school program a couple of the days, but not every day. It's also important if someone else is going to pick them up that you just make sure that they know that, so that just helps sort of ease their anxiety or surprise if someone different is there than they expected. And then if you need to change your child's dismissal plan at any point, it's important that you notify the teacher, and we'll show you ways to do that. But if you haven't gotten a response from the teacher, you really want to make sure to call the office, because what you can be assured is that we will not change their dismissal plan unless we hear from you. So there are times where we get the kids telling us, wait, we're going to this person's house, or so-and-so is picking me up, so I'm not riding the school bus. And we will not do what the 5-year-old says. So we will just stick with the plan. So you want to let us know. And then just to sort of speak to some of the photos you see here, you can obviously see what it looks like for kids, as they're going to the school bus, out of the front door. But then there's also an aerial here well, wait, I'm going to pause, not the aerial yet. So then you can also see sort of this expanded view of the front of the building with the new construction. And then you see now the aerial that is Google Map is not updated since the construction. So the loops are the same, but you aren't seeing the add-on of the gymnasium. But what's important is you'll see in blue, that's where it says student pickup. We'll make that more obvious. But if you're going to be what we call a walker, so we're going to meet you outside and hand your student off to you, you're going to stand sort of across the street and that sort of driveway right there. And that spot is there just for kindergarten. A little further up towards the cafeteria is where first grade and on will meet, but that's where you'll pick your student up if you're going to walk or get out of the car. The loop that's closest to the school, that's for buses only, and you see that photo and you can see clearly in the sort of side shot where the buses are going to be. And then in red, you see car pickup only. This is very, very important. The car pickup is designed for you to go. You stay in your car. It's not meant for parking. You're staying in your car. You're pulling up, and you're going to then have your child just get in the car. And so there's adults there that will help with that process. The same is true for arrival. You can pull up and sort of drop off, and your student will exit the car and come into the building. You are not going to be allowed to park your car and cross that path for car pickup and where buses are. So we're going to really push that and emphasize that next year for all families. But it's important that foot traffic stays out of that area. So if you are going to park your car, you're going to need to pick up where you see the blue arrow for pickup. And we'll give you more of that information at the Sneak a Peek and all the other things that we have available. And I'm going to hand it off to Miss Williams for transportation.
Hello, everyone. You will be receiving information. It generally will get to you by late August about transportation. If your child qualifies for bus transportation, that will come to you. You'll get information about the bus number, pickup, and drop-off times. Again, that typically comes to you in late August, mid to late August. And we're also including for your information, if you want to jot this down, the number for the transportation department, 874-8240. If you'd like to make any outreach to them now with any questions, I'm sure they'd be happy to help you. But one of the things we do also offer in late summer is, and you'll hear more about this, is a PTA-sponsored play date, and we usually combine that with a practice bus ride because we realize that all of our kindergarten friends will have most likely never been on a school bus before. So that opportunity will be available to all students regardless of whether or not they are a daily bus rider to school. So we'll talk more about some of those upcoming end of year events that Kristen mentioned earlier. And now I believe we're going to go to a day in the life of kindergarten. What did I forget?
You didn't forget anything. There was a question posed if it was for pre-K, if this meeting was for pre-K and K. And we should have said that if you only have a pre-K student, you are welcome to sign off.
Sure. Sorry about that. That's right.
So that was our mistake. And I think Miss Christine let you know that as well. So I'm attempting to play a video and I'm hoping we don't get the spinning loop.
Let's see what kindergarten is all about.
All right. And now Ms. Brzezinnis will give you some information.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So a typical day in kindergarten includes literacy, writing, math, science, phys ed, library, and music. And now I'm going to give you a little bit of information on our literacy program. Let's see if I can.
You just push the arrow button.
Yes.
Let's see what
sorry.
kindergarten is all about.
Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah. Okay, so at Lyseth, we use a balanced literacy program, which means we really try to pull from as many different places with as many fun, stimulating activities as we can. And we use a number of strategies to work on different foundational skills to prepare children for reading. So in the beginning of the year, a big focus is really letter identification and sounds, which we teach through a phonics program called Lively Letters. And this program is a lot of fun for children. It teaches sounds by really modeling tongue placement, the tongue placement that each letter makes. We also focus on building children's phonemic awareness skills, such as rhyming and clapping out syllables. And this is done through a lot of fun songs and stories that include rhyming words, which we describe as words that have the same ending part. And there's a lot of fun stories and activities that we do along with that. Throughout the year, we also do a lot of work around identifying sounds in the beginning, middle, and ends of words, and blending sounds together as they learn to eventually put it all together when learning to read. Another big focus during kindergarten is what you'll hear as sight words. So throughout the year, we focus a lot on these 25 sight words. We do a lot of things with these sight words. Sometimes you'll also hear them described as snap words or high frequency words. And this list of 25 words are words that kindergartners will basically see the most in their beginning reading texts as they learn to read. And simple texts are also used to reinforce many literacy skills, and teachers will use level text to support children where they are with different activities such as guided reading groups. One of the most effective ways to foster a love of reading, however, is to spend time doing it. And we spend lots of time reading in different ways, sometimes in small books, sometimes in big books with shared reading experiences. So above all else, we work hard to develop in all children a real love of reading. Now I'm going to move to the next slide. Here we go. Writing. So one big component of our literacy program is also what we call as our writing workshop. And during this time, children write for a variety of purposes. And we really begin the year with just their own writing, which really mostly encompasses drawing for the most part, and labeling of beginning sounds that they can associate to what they are making in their drawings. And we encourage really and celebrate all stages of writing and work on just taking children where they are in their writing process and moving them along to the next level. The children really are taught throughout the year to stretch out their words and work on really writing the sounds that they hear in words. And, we described stretching out their words as kind of like stretching out a rubber band. And we focus a lot on different activities so that they can hear the different sounds. We also have different units that we use or focus on throughout the year. And these units include narrative writing, which is writing true personal narratives, which we really describe as true stories that they can relate to that have happened to them, pattern books, persuasive writing, and lastly, informational or how-to writing, which they love to write how-to books. They they are the experts, and they describe something and teach in steps how to do something, whether it be ride a bike, make a pizza. Throughout the year, we also focus a lot on handwriting, and we use a program called Handwriting Without Tears. And this gives children real explicit practice with letter formation. We first focus on the uppercase letters and then eventually move to the lowercase letters. So let's see. Yes. Okay, so we do have 25 sight words. And as I said, these are the words that children will often see the most in their text. They're going to see them, a lot. So the idea of these sight words, these 25 sight words, and they are words, as simple as, is and it and to and the. Some of the words are words that they can sound out. And some of the words are words that they just need to memorize. So we do a lot of activities around these words. It may be sometimes as simple as flashcards. It may be, they're seeing and writing them in the morning message. Sometimes it's rainbow writing. Sometimes they're using different magnetic letters or Play-Doh to make these words. But the idea is that when they learn these words, they will be able to quickly identify them in their reading, and that will help really with their fluency, so they're not stopping and struggling on these words. Okay, so yeah, I think anything else, or is that okay? So I'm going to move to the next slide. And here we go. I'm going to talk about math.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Tashnadi. In math, we use a program called Illustrative Mathematics. We start by exploring math in our world, where students learn about math tools such as connecting cubes, pattern blocks, and counters, and notice numbers and quantities around them. For practicing, students can look at prices in the grocery store, groups of images in picture books, or count how many plates are there on the dinner table. We also learn our routines and expectations during math class, and we begin to build a positive math community. Next, we dive deeper into numbers 1 through 10. Students answer how many questions, and they compare groups of objects and images, answering questions like which group has more, which group has fewer, or the same. We also learn to write numbers to represent a group of objects, and to understand the relationship between number and quantity. Then students are introduced to geometry by exploring shapes in our world. Children can practice by looking at the shapes of street signs or different shapes on houses. We learn the names of shapes, we compare them, we build them, and we build with them. After our geometry exploration, students relate all they learned about counting to addition and subtraction. We talk about realistic story problems that students can relate to. Later in the year, we learn to compose and decompose numbers to 10. We expand our studies to teen numbers. And lastly, we learn about solid shapes. Throughout the year, we focus on students being able to explain and show their thinking with words, drawings, and different math tools. We practice various instructional routines, such as think, pair, share, notice and wonder, or which one doesn't belong. These routines help children learn how to express and explain their ideas. And here is Ms. Tedesco to talk to you about science.
Hello. So I love talking about science. We have Go to Science as one of our science programs, and it is absolutely fantastic. I'm also biased. I think I realized, can they see me? Because I think Christina. So Miss Tisnati is much, much taller than me. Am I better?
Yes.
Okay, good. There we go. I just realized they probably saw my forehead. So we go on 3 diverse science missions every school year. And you look at the slide this year, our first mission was actually Mission Artifacts, and we were looking for artifacts for Indigenous people in the state of Maine. So that was fantastic. We did that with Beth and Curtis. We in about mid-year did Mission Kangaroos, and we were looking at the population of the gray kangaroo and making sure that the adult to joey ratio matched, because we don't want an overabundance or an underabundance of the gray kangaroo. And then lastly, we just finished up Mission Cetaceans, which was again, wonderful mission where we were exploring the number of cetaceans off of the coast of Baja, California, and Mexico, and making sure that there was more than 5 different types of cetaceans in that area. So just to sort of give you an idea of what our missions look like this year. Next year, we'll do 3 different missions, which is wonderful. You can see here different ways that gets incorporated into the classroom. So we do live streams with Beth and Curtis. We watch about a 5-minute video where they're out there analyzing that data for, I think I said 6 weeks, maybe I didn't, but each mission lasts for 6 weeks. And so we can then live stream with them. So we can see them and chat in the box with them. They don't see us, but we can ask them questions related to the hypothesis. And you can see here on the pictures where we were recording in the middle there, that's actually us recording the adults, kangaroos, and the joeys. And we were tracking that, and it was an opportunity for us to use what we were learning in math to organize the data. So I'm not going to remember exactly. I think the purple cubes were the adult male. I think the green, I don't know if the green was a joey, I can't remember. And then the yellow was maybe a joey in the pouch. It was something like that. So and you saw how those cubes are jumbled. So it required us to sort of organize that out. And again, that's another way we were able to, incorporate what we were doing in math with our science. And then one of the favorites is we can print out a live scale, like a real life scaled version of an animal in a puzzle form, and we build the puzzle, and then we can paint it and decorate, and we do label writing with those. And those are just some simple ways that we incorporate the science throughout what we're doing to get in that writing piece as well. And then another aspect that we have for Go to Science is the comic. And so each week there's an additional comic written. So it's kind of almost like a chapter book for the kids. And we do a variety of shared reading experiences with them throughout the week with those comics. And those are highly engaging to students. And then obviously one of the best parts is that all of these missions align to the NGSS standards. Yes, I'm saying this correct. Yeah, the science. Thank you. The next gen science standards. I'm like, it's late at night and I've talked a lot today. So it was, limited here what I've got. I apologize. Yeah. So if you were ever having any questions about that, let us know. But we are excited to have it. It's something that Ms. Williams has supported and continues to fund currently from kindergarten up to 2nd grade. PreK does not use Go to Science because the curriculum that they're using is already so science rich. There isn't a need to bring Go to Science to their current programming. And I will pass this along. Oh, it's to myself. I'm staying with you because I'm talking about specials. We call them unified arts. We should probably change that. So that's our the latest and greatest terminology to talk about the unified arts that we have. Obviously, just like when you were in school, we have art, physical education, music, and the library. We go to each of these throughout the week. And yeah, that's how we do it. The schedule this year was a little weird. We kind of did one all week long. So we would do a week of art, then a week of PE, then it could be a week of music. And the library was one time a week. I don't know if that will stay the same next year, but they will have exposure to all of the unified arts, and they absolutely love those. So those are coveted times throughout their day. Now I think I'm passing it along to Miss Tasnadi, who's taller than me. So we're going to move this and get this right.
Yes, I'm easy to spot. I'm the one sticking out.
You're very good.
Okay, thank you. As far as communication, you can expect our principal's notes to go out bi-weekly through School Messenger to provide you with any relevant information, school-wide information. All of us use take-home folders for each student to send and receive any printed material and student work. We also use email to send you information, and you will be able to reach your child's teacher via their email as well. But as Kristen mentioned before, for more immediate questions, or if your child is absent or has a change in their after-school routine, we ask you to please always call the office, and the number is right there, but we'll send that to you later on as well. Because us teachers may not be able to check their emails until the end of the day. So please always call the office. In the past few years, many different messenger applications were created, such as Remind, Talking Points, and most recently an app called Reach My Teach. Essentially, we use them to send you short text messages that are translated to your preferred language. And we also send pictures or documents this way. We all explored these applications, and have found the one that we feel most comfortable with. So your child's teacher will let you know which app they will be using throughout the year. Lastly, if we have an anticipated snow day during the wintertime, we will use our iPads and a platform called Seesaw for our remote learning. If you have not used Seesaw before, think of it as a digital folder for all your students' online work. Our iPads only go home for these remote learning days, otherwise they stay with us at school. And I think next is Ms. Williams. Yeah.
So we know that we have disappointed folks in that we weren't.
Sorry.
Oh, am I there?
I'm sorry.
A little back.
There you go.
Is that better? We disappoint everybody by pivoting to a virtual format tonight, but I wanted to assure everyone that there'll be multiple opportunities for you to become a part of the Lyseth school community. First and foremost, we'll have kindergarten screening on May 19th and again on June 8th. The school fair is coming up, and we encourage everybody to come on Saturday, June 4th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a wonderful event that we have missed having due to the pandemic, and we are back online for that. Busing information, as I mentioned earlier, we anticipate will come out in late August. Classroom placement with one of these amazing teachers will be determined also mid to the latter part of August. We also are planning a sneak a peek, which is what we'll call that for kindergarten. It's generally an open house where classrooms are visited, your classroom teacher is visited, and that's still to be determined. And we also wanted to make a note of the first day of kindergarten is September 8th. Do I have anything else? That's it. Pause just a moment.
Okay, so just information about the case.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. But there are questions about that, what that entails.
Yeah. All right. Just checking I'm seeing your questions. So the kindergarten screening is, let me break this down. I'm trying to look at your questions. All right. So if you have a current pre-K student in the Portland Public Schools program, I think I'm good. Thank you. They will not attend a kindergarten screening because they've already had that happen when they were in pre-K. So they don't need it. So if you were to get an invite to come to a kindergarten screening, you can ignore it if your student is in a current Portland Public Schools pre-K program. If your student is a pre-K student coming in for the first time or a kindergarten student coming into Portland Public Schools for the first time, the kindergarten screening is just a quick snapshot of the child. So we're just trying to figure out how are they doing? Is there anything that they could possibly need in terms of like speech, how they're making their sounds, how they're putting words together in a sentence, to their OT, that's the small muscles and the large muscles. And then, there's just some basic academic pieces around counting and identifying letters. It's just a quick snapshot for us to see if there's anything that we need to talk with you about. Is there something we can do to get your child ready for their next year's placement in pre-K or kindergarten? Okay, and Christine, did you want to add on? I think you have more details around the information.
Yep. We're screening most of the pre-K children tomorrow, and most of the kindergarten children on June 8th. The incoming kindergarten children on June 8th. And if you can't make one of those dates or times, it's totally fine. We have another date in the fall where we can screen children who are not able to make the spring screening. So don't worry if it's too difficult to rearrange. We'll figure it out.
And then, Christine, how are they going to get the information to sign up for the screening?
Michelle has sent out a kind of like a sign-up genius to all of the families whose children are not currently enrolled in a Portland Public Schools pre-K. If your child is in a Portland Public Schools pre-K, they've likely already been screened. So we're not going to rescreen them. They should have, parents whose children are not in a Portland Public Schools pre-K should have received an email to sign up online today.
And if you did not get the email, just contact the school and we will gather that email or find another way to help you sign up. And I think that there's questions around Spanish immersion, and so stay tuned because that's coming. And then Lenore, I think to cue you up one more time, there are some questions around what the school fair is.
Oh.
So she would be happy. Oh, it's kind of like a carnival.
Yeah,
she is.
I would describe the school fair as more, it's very first and foremost, it's totally geared to children. It's more like a carnival. So students come and they buy tickets. There are a variety of games. There's food, popcorn, pizza in the past, even a cotton candy machine. I'm not quite sure what the PTA has totally planned, but it's very much, and we try and keep it there's indoors. It's usually in the cafeteria as well as outdoors. Games are set out. We've in the past had dunk tanks. I'm really hoping that doesn't show up again because I usually end up in it. And, bouncy houses, but there's a variety of different games. It's very much like a carnival atmosphere. I hope that helps.
Yes. And then,
anything else?
Yeah. So there's some feedback saying from one of our families, Katie Rawls.
Oh, okay.
She's adding on for all of us that they're going to be handing out free tickets, free food, inflatable obstacle courses, I'm assuming, slides, games. Oh, a photo booth.
Oh,
Fun.
that's fun.
That's exciting. Lenore likes that better than
A
the dunk tank. She was not a fan of the previous years with the dunk tank. And then, yes, I think just to answer the question, the pre-K screening will be in person. So I think most events moving forward will become in person. So
Yes.
I just had to make a quick pivot for this particular event. And the hours are from the carnival hours. Oh, she said 10 to 2, not 9 to 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And you need to bring your kids to the screening. Yes. So the screening is really all about the kids and then a little bit about the parents. So the parents, you'll have some papers to sign and, just sort of some questionnaires to fill out. I think there's a dismissal slip, to just say, what do you think your student's dismissal plan might be? But so you'll sort of go to one place and we'll take your child and we'll do some fun games with them in a different place, but that's all in person. But we do need the kids. So for that. All right. And then what's next here?
Getting ready for kindergarten.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. I'm gonna pass it off to Ms. Brzezinski.
All right. Let's see if this is looking okay. Is that looking okay? Okay. All right. Okay. So hi again. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about what you can do to get your child ready for kindergarten. We always have a lot of questions about, what can we do prior to make sure they are ready for kindergarten? So here are just a few ideas. As you enjoy your summer, there are a lot of things that you can do to help prepare your child for kindergarten, in addition to talking about it and maybe even if you have time to come and visit the school, play on the playground. That's always a big hit, and it'll make both you and your child feel a lot more comfortable, I'm sure, just taking a look around. One of the big things is reading. And, we encourage that as much as possible. If you can read to your child every night, that is super important. And also playing games is another great way to, not only build critical math and literacy skills, but, focus on taking turns, sharing, listening, all of that. So other things that are important include a lot of, fine motor practice. We do a lot of, drawing and writing and cutting. And so as much fine motor practice as you can do with your child, the better. Different craft activities are great, whether it be, coloring, painting, cutting, stringing beads, any kind of craft activity that involves the fine motor muscles is definitely a benefit for your child. So strong, engaged muscles definitely make for strong, engaged learners. Other different activities are just really a lot of listening, making sure that they can follow directions, waiting their turn to speak. The classrooms are busy places. So, sometimes it's hard for young children to wait, but, practice with that is always helpful. And if you can try to get into somewhat of a schedule, a little bit of structure is also a great way to just prepare them for, the more structured environment of a classroom, trying to get a consistent bedtime routine as well as meal times. Social activities are something that's always helpful, making sure that they can work with others, share. And then lastly, different independence, self-help skills, using the bathroom independently, dressing themselves, things like putting on their coat, zippering, buttoning, taking care of their belongings. Those are things that will definitely be of great benefit and, make them feel, confident and have, some sense of accomplishment. So, so that is it really for, things that you can do to help for getting ready for kindergarten. We are looking forward to meeting all of you and your children soon in person. So I'm going to pass this on to, I think, Maestra Claudia. So sorry.
It really does work.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you. So Claudia is getting her stuff geared up and getting ready to switch over presenter ownership. But thank you all. We apologize for the pivot, but look forward to having you in the building for screenings. Ooh,
Oh,
it's
there we go.
happening. Yay, I'm glad it shared. So that was the year before. We didn't update it this year, guys. It was just kind of crazy. But thank you again for everything. We're going to go ahead and turn our camera off and mute. And if you just give Claudia and us just a few minutes to switch over, that's great. If you're not interested in Spanish immersion, then you are welcome to sign off. But if you're curious about it, please definitely stay on, and she will have lots of awesome information to give you guys. Thank you. Okay. Here you go.
Okay, Carlos, you can.
Okay, so we can start. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlos Gomez. I am the Director of Language Development for Portland Public Schools, which means I support all of the language programs, world language, English language programs across the district. And I'm going to introduce a couple of slides, but introduce and have Claudia Mejia, our immersion kindergarten teacher, speak a little bit more about the Spanish immersion program to give you a sense of what that option might be. Lenora, was there anything that you wanted to transition us to, or?
Well, only that the program has been in existence. I think this is our 8th year. We have a variety of teachers. Most of our teachers are from Spain through a visiting teacher program with the Ministry of Spain. Claudia is the exception.
Mm-hmm.
She is a U.S. citizen, but Mexican born.
Yeah.
So we have, but it's been an amazing opportunity to bring in some amazing educators. And I know that I probably don't have to tell our parent community this. It is the only program of its kind in existence in the state of Maine. So that makes us very unique. We have been recognized as a School of the Year from the Ministry of Spain, as well as we had 2 teachers recognized as Teacher of the Year, Ivan Sabao at grade 5 and Eugenia Fernandez at grade 2. So that gives you a little bit of the background of the program, and we'll get into more detail right now.
Right. So if we go to the second slide, and Claudia, I don't know if you want to hit the slideshow button or.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep.
There you go.
Okay. Great. So I'll just take a moment to talk a little bit about why Spanish, what the full continuum looks like of the Spanish immersion experience. As you know, the United States is actually, or you may or may not know, the United States is one of the largest Spanish-speaking countries in the world, and there are over 19 or 20 countries that speak Spanish. So Spanish is of extreme importance in the United States and around the world. And just in general, the number of materials and the access to Spanish language is robust and rich here. And that's why we are looking at, and we've looked at Spanish as the language for our immersion program. As Lenore indicated, this is, I believe, our 8th year or so. And when we phased in the program, we phased it in starting at the kindergarten level and a grade at a time. So we've been running K through 5 at Lyseth for at least 2 or 3 years now. And we've been moving a little bit into middle school, which I'll talk about in a moment. So what does Spanish language exposure look like? Well, first of all, we know this is a great age. Elementary school, PreK, this age group absorb language as they absorb content. So that's really what we're modeling in this immersion program is the acquiring of content and language at the same time. And we've chosen a full immersion, or sometimes it's called the 90-10 immersion, where most of the instruction in the early grades is in the target language. Some of our family members speak Spanish, but most of them are non-Spanish speakers. Gradually, we move through 3rd grade, introducing more English, introducing some content instruction in English, and eventually we get to the 4th, 5th grade level, and we're closer to 50-50 Spanish, or probably 60-30, somewhere in that range, 50-50 roughly by 5th grade. In 5th grade, we've had social studies and science in the past. In English, some Spanish, with math and ELA as well. So these are students are gaining the content and the language through that content. On the next slide, just want to take a minute to talk about what the proficiency level looks like at the various grade levels. So as you can imagine, in kindergarten, we're beginning at a very beginning stage, novice low, and then we're gradually gaining more and more proficiency in Spanish. This model here that you see on the screen is one that it comes, I believe, from the American Council of Teachers of Foreign Languages. It's one that we use throughout K through 12 language instruction. In fact, it's one that we use for the seal of biliteracy, which is attainable at the high school level. So students who attain an advanced low or higher at the high school level, actually, it might be even a little bit lower, intermediate high, I believe, are eligible for the seal of biliteracy. And in fact, what we've seen is that the 4th and 5th graders in Lyseth's immersion program, many of them are reaching the same level of fluency in the language that they're studying as some of the high school students that begin their language study in middle school and have had it for 6 or 7 years. So this program is a powerful testament to the effort and amazingness of our language teachers, and also to just the ability of the human brain to learn languages at a young age. In terms of academic results and standards, we're looking for our students to work on the same standards, Common Core standards, Maine learning results, next generation science standards, in Spanish in most cases. I think what I'd like to do is maybe hand it off here to Claudia to give you a little picture of what it looks like at the kindergarten level, and then we'll talk a little bit more at the end. Thank you.
Hi. So pretty much what we do in kindergarten is try to develop that basic speaking ability for a student to communicate in the second language, right? Understanding basic commands, like, for example, I need to go to the bathroom, or I'm hungry, things that start to progress later when they go to first grade. Also, we do, I try to incorporate our theme books in our class. So if we are, for example, let's see the one about brown bear. So through the book, we not only understand colors in Spanish, but also we understand sequence, which is a very important, I think, concept to understand also when it comes to mathematical thinking, right? To have sequence, what comes first, then we obviously, I focus a lot we focus on the phonological awareness, recognize sounds of Spanish. And a lot of students who start kindergarten may have some idea of some letters in Spanish. Most of them, I would say, they come and they know how to count to maybe 10 in Spanish. But I think I really focus on syllabical approach. So we really have to break the words in syllables. And that's how I teach my class. And so learning to decode not just the sounds of each letter, but then what we do a lot in Spanish is we'll use a lot of consonant, vowel, right? For example, mama has 2 syllables, and so it's a ma and a ma. So when the students start recognizing this syllabical approach and understanding the phonetical sounds of the letters, that's when they start already decoding words. So as I was telling you, we do a lot of stories that I can not only incorporate with my literacy, but I also use math. So for example, if we're learning to count in Spanish. So maybe I will bring a different book. And then through my book, I will teach numbers and number sense and number words. Then another way to engage the students in a second language is using not only repetition, because repetition, I think, it's not working when you're learning another language. So we have to use our tactile, our senses. So we do a lot of arts and crafts in the class. For example, in this picture, as you can see, we engage this year in a theme of animals. And as you maybe listened in our English presentation about Go to Science program, so the students were super engaged in animals. And so I took that opportunity to say, oh, okay. So we start researching and asking students, so what's your favorite animal? So they start also developing ways to become also scientists, do some research about their animals they like, creating also some how they can present their project. So it was also a little bit of project-based learning that I use in my class. And they, at the end, everything culminate in like a little museum. So we had guests that came into the class from other classes. We have our principal, vice principal, they came and they look at their creations, right? And so I think it's also a way to engage students in learning the language, not just be passive, but they have to be active and develop the use of the language. And if you see students sitting on the ground, also we have guests from upper grades. So this year I work a lot with Maestro Ivan, which is in 5th grade. They came into my class and we did a lot of like reading stories. So it was more like a little brother, big brother kind of thing. And so they came and read books to my students. And that was a big, I think, example of my little students in kindergarten. They see the big kids already reading Spanish and they get really excited about the program. So I don't know if this is going to work again. Hopefully we don't have... That was, again, tied in the Go to Science curriculum with math. I mean, it really goes together because, so there was like Mrs. Tedesco mentioned those big puzzles that are very, I think it's like to work and build the puzzles, and they were also doing, counting numbers. So it's, even though if you see that we have the Go to Science program, the illustrative mathematics and the Spanish curriculum, but we all kind of try to put everything together so we can also collaborate with the teachers in the English program. So that's the culmination of our puzzles. So they had to color, they have to learn also. Yeah, so we learned colors, numbers, and we were comparing animals that herbivores, carnivores, so which also brings a lot of compare and contrast. And for students who are really catching up concepts really fast, compare and contrast is really good for them to put their ideas, and express their ideas in the language. Here's another example of, I use again the Go to Science, this time when they went to Australia and the mission with kangaroos, and integrate literacy into this into the science theme. Another way to engage students in a second language is showing about my culture. And I think it's very important. Like, so they do piñatas because it's a part of my culture in Mexico. We do piñatas. They build their own piñatas. We also celebrate different activities throughout the school year about Mexico, but also about, sometimes we get ideas from the immersion teachers, like they are from Spain. So we sometimes bring a little bit of the culture into our classroom. And I know maybe some parents are maybe thinking, oh, I don't speak Spanish. How am I going to support my child? But I think Mrs. Versinis mentioned that when they come into kindergarten, the writing part, it's some students will start expressing their ideas using pictures and labeling them. So that's kind of like the first stage of the students who are at a beginner level of the writing. And that's what my target is, to start getting those students expressing their ideas through pictures, then labeling, and then you see there are other students who could already start using more of their, they will ask me, oh, how do you say eyes in Spanish, right? And then I will go, oh, ojo. So they start already to decode and understand the phonetical sounds of the words, so they can reflect that into the writing. Then this is already maybe about, I don't know, January or December, I can see already some students moving into a complete sentence. So in this picture, we can see that this student is telling me what they did during the weekend. and so he or she said that they went to play in the monkey bars. So you could start already seeing a complete sentences by maybe December or January. I'm not generalizing. Some will be at a different stage. But I'm just giving you an example. And we have observed that students, yes, they will confuse English and Spanish of the letter sounds and syllables, but that's normal. And around third grade, students already are sorting out their knowledge on how to separate and organize their ideas and concepts in a more either using informational writing or other ways to communicate. And then I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about any academic test that they need to expect, like more district-wise for students.
And Lenore, feel free to jump in there as well. But just to reiterate those first 2 points that Claudia mentioned, this is part of the natural language learning process, the translanguaging, where students are using the words and sounds and languages that become available for them. As they get more content, as they get more time with language, they do begin to a bit compartmentalize language. So they're using Spanish for the content area that they're seeing in Spanish, and the same for English. And eventually, and this we're seeing in general across the country, and even here in our Lyseth program in Portland, students in immersion programs are performing as well or better, for the most part, on various academic measures, and they are. There are some state tests that students all students from third grade on will need to participate in, and there are some district assessments that we also have our immersion students participate as well. So they're Portland public school students, and they're having that similar experience. Lenore, was there anything else you wanted to add?
There was a question in the chat about our children and teachers speaking in English and Spanish. And I think obviously when kids are coming into the kindergarten classroom day one, we're trying to introduce as much Spanish as possible, but we need to be communicating in English because generally speaking, Carlos, you said all of our kindergarten teachers are non-Spanish speakers. They're English speakers learning to speak the target language. So the question was, are children and teachers speaking in English and Spanish or just Spanish? Initially, there has to be communication in English as well.
And especially, we really need to be aware of the social emotional part of the child. So if all of a sudden you come with like the Spanish language to them, sometimes it could get for some children very anxious, very, withdrawal. So it's at the beginning of the year, I have to use some of English, but then we transition more and more into the Spanish language. And then there was another question about I guess this, I think is talking about children who are bilingual. If your child is bilingual in Spanish or another language, I think it's a great asset. I think if your child speaks already Spanish, I think those children are usually kind of like my leaders in the class, because they know they already maybe are more fluent in speaking the language. So I think obviously the progression for them will be a little bit more accelerated. And but if they also speak another language, I think. As probably research says that when they speak another language, they are obviously more attuned to learn a third language. Sorry, Carlos, I don't know if you're done with the slide. Yeah? Okay. And then, oops. I think I had a video, but I don't see it. Sorry. Wait, give me a minute.
I didn't see the video in this slide deck, on this slide, Claudia.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Okay. So let me try to go. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me. Oh, sorry. Try to go back. How do I go back?
Not working here.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, we don't see it though.
Yeah. Sorry, but it was just a video of the children playing also some a game in Spanish. But that's I mean, for me that's it. I think now it's like the next steps. And I think let me see, just to check again in the chat if there is any more questions. I don't see any more questions, but I think we need to keep doing that.
Okay. So tonight, we are giving you an opportunity to hear about the program. We have a couple of forms as an application form if you're interested in the Spanish immersion program. And also included with that is some frequently asked questions. We covered some of that ground about language acquisition, but there is a frequently asked question sheet as well. We would make both of those available to you here at Lyseth in a hard copy. And I think what we're going to try and do is to email both the frequently asked questions and the application form to families that were here tonight for the pre-KK orientation night. We do often have, I want to be very honest, more interest than we have available seats in the program. We have 22 available spots, but that we need to note that if families currently have a child in the program, there is preference given to siblings. So if you are a parent who has a first grader and you have an incoming kindergarten student, then your child is allotted a seat in the K program. I think right now we have about 5 siblings that are expected to join the program, meaning that there'll be fewer seats than the 22. So a lottery process would then be would begin if we need to do that in the event that we have more interest than we do available spots. And first and foremost, it is preferences given to those siblings, but also to Lyseth families. So that needs to be noted is that this is a Lyseth program. It's based here at Lyseth, and we are serving the Lyseth catchment area, this neighborhood, the North Deering community. And so out of neighborhood families, so if you live in the Presumpscot area or you live near Ocean Avenue, you could potentially have an opportunity to join the program. But again, that would be dependent on how much interest and available seats. So the process begins today. As of tonight, those applications become available either here in hard copy at Lyseth, and we're going to try and get she's going to share the doc, we think, in the chat, hopefully, fingers crossed. And there will be 2 weeks in which you can make a decision about the program and being a part of that. I think the deadline is June 3rd. Yeah. And that'll come up, I think, with the next slide. Yeah. June 3rd, and by the end of our school day on June 3rd is when we would ask that you have your application in. We won't be accepting applications past that date and that time. That's at the end of our school day. Again, you can call the main office with any questions. The number's here, 874-8215. You can pick up an application here at Lyseth. They'll be located with the frequently asked question sheet in the main office. Or you can print a copy of the application using the link that Claudia just included in the chat. And there should be a frequently asked question sheet as well as an application. And that's that.
And I think that's it.
We're really glad you came tonight. We are woefully over time. It is closing in on 7 p.m. So I'm going to ask you if you have questions to please reach out. I want to thank Nana and Berthley for tonight. They're amazing. I'm sure we were talking way too fast. We usually do.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And thank you, Carlos, for joining us. And thank you to my amazing kindergarten team and pre-K team.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you.